Alright, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So for
Waalaikumsalam.
this session, we will do the Q&A for P3U case study. So for the first group, we'll explain or answer the question is from group 2. So we will answer the question from group 1. So I will share the screen. So we are from group 2. We'll answer the question from group 1. So for the first question from Hanif Akbar. So Hanif asked in the ASP collecting system technology selection, we have select weight rating in matrix section. It is shown that the assigned rating value reach up to 9. However, the presenter mentioned the maximum importance weight is 5. Could you clarify how the value of 9 was determined? How was there a specific scale conversion or particular assessment method used as the basis for this rating? So actually for this rating or weighting system or scoring is depend on us how to select the best technology for our tools or equipment for ASP. So it's depend on us how we make the scale. So the difference in here, the important weighting factor, we have scale 1, 2, 3, and 5. So this is different with the rating value. So weighing scale, it's for how important that the factor for technology such as low capital cost have 5 scales. So it's more important than low opacity that have 1 scale and long service life. So it's mean for selection the method, we consider about what criteria that more consider than another criteria. And then for the collecting system technology concept, the value like says in paper, we consider the value 1, 5, and 9. So 1, it means the score solution was much worse than the hypothetical baseline. There is 5. So it means 1 is lowest value or this technology cannot apply in our design. And then for the 5 is the baseline or the standard or medium, and 9 is the highest value or this technology more applicable in our design. So it depends on us. Is it we can change the number by maybe 1, 3, 5 also, and maybe 1, 2, 3, but the scale is much consistent. So 1 is for lowest, and then the medium and also the highest. So I think that's all for my answer for Hanif question. So Hanif, do you have any question or any suggestion?
Thank you so much for the answer. I think that's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Hanif. So next is question from Lutfi that will answer by Tiara. So Tiara, times is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So the next question from Lutfi with ID number 1018. The questions: why did the study choose a dry ESP over a wet ESP despite the potential for increased fine particulate removal with wet method? In arid climates like Namibia, the report mentioned using historical data and exploration from China-based CFPPS. How might differences in fuel properties as atmospheric condition and regulation affect the transferability of this data? So my answer, the study selected a dry electrostatic precipitator or ESP over a wet ESC based on a multi-criteria decision metric. Despite Namibia's arid climate, where wet ESP could enhance fine particulate, which is PM2.5 removal. The decision prioritized cost efficiency, simpler infrastructure requirements, and long-term durability, which are crucial in Namibia resource constraint setting. Next. Okay. So actually, there is table of ASP in the next batch, but let me explain this first. This result come from the driest based on the table that gonna show after this. This result come from the dry SP as the optimal solution when balancing technical performance and economic feasibility. Furthermore, the study employed validation using historical ASP data over 50 CFPPs in China. While they serve as robust reference, the transferability of their data is limited by several local factors. First, fuel properties. So Namibian bituminous coal has a high ash content, which is 15%, and low moisture, which is 1%, leading to higher fly ash resistivity, which can reduce ESP performance compared to Chinese coal with different combustion profile. And then the second is atmospheric condition. So the extreme low humidity in Namibia could reduce particulate conductivity, affect particle charging and migration within the ESP. And the last is regulatory differences. Namibia targets a PM limited to 50 milligram per nm cubic, whereas China recent upgrade aim for about less than 30 milligram per nm cubic, reflecting different design pressure and compliance threshold. So, to account for these differences, performance parameters such as DSP index and specific collection area were superimposed on characteristics performance curve from Chinese installation. Next. Okay, so this is the table, ESP collection system technology selection rating metric. So we can see here based on like the low capacity cost, low operation and maintenance, high efficiency, long service life, and versatility. So we can see the range of which is in the scale, and we can know like which one is the most suitable that we can use for the condition. So yeah, you can really think about that. And also this is I also portray the figure as of extrapolated ESP index characteristic survey curve or ESP index versus emission and voltage versus SCS. So in here you can see that how like there is graphic or most ESP index of H content 15%, voltage 70 kF, and SGA 56.88 meter meter square per meter cubic per so also there is also extrapolarization that appear here. Next. Okay, based on that, we can see that this figure shows that the Namibian dry SP design SP index, which is 709.2, comfortably meet the emission target of less than 50 milligram per nanometer nm cubic, validating the choice despite local variability. And for the conclusion, the dry ESP was selected for its cost advantage, mechanical simplicity, and ability to meet local emission standard, even though wet ESP may offer superior PM 2.5 control in dry air. The exploration from Chinese ESP data provide a sound design benchmark, but careful adjustment for fuel, climate, and regulatory context remain essential. Okay, that's all from me. I think giving back to moderator.
Okay, thank you, Tiara. So for Lutfi, is it clear for you, or do you have any question?
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Lutfi. So the last question from group 1, question from Muzaki will answer by Aslam. So Aslam, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, moderator. So I will answer Muzaki question. So Muzaki question is, the ESP was designed to achieve more or equal than 99.5% collection efficiency. And what operating and design factors influence whether this efficiency is actually achieved in practice? So the answer for the question, there is 5 different factors, design factors. The first one is the particle characteristic. So for particle characteristic, there is also 3 different types. The first one is the size. So the particles is difficult to capture by ESP if have diameter consists of 0.1 to 1 micrometer. So the lower the size of the particles, the less efficiency the ESP will achieve. And for the resistivity, the high or low resistivity reduce efficiency, which means the particles have different resistivity, and this resistivity will affect also the efficiency of the ESP. Then for the loading factor, so the higher dust loads may require more power or area. So the amount of dust that loads into the ESP will also affect the amount of the efficiency the ESP have. Then the second factor is the gas flow condition. There is also several types. First one is velocity. So high flow reduce residence time. And then for distribution, so uneven flow cause poor collection zones. And then for temperature and moisture, it affects resistivity and also charging. And then for the third factor is the electrical condition. There is also several types. First one is voltage and current. So the lower the power, the insufficient power lowers the efficiency of the ESP. Then arcing or sparking, which reduce average power input, which reduce the efficiency of the ESP. And also for power stability, so fluctuations in power stability impact the field strength of the ESP. Next slide, please. And then the next factor is the ESP design. So there is several types. First one is the plate area. So the more area of the ESP plate area will improve the capture term. Then the next is electrode spacing, which means it affects field strength and also corona. And then the next is the number of fields. So more stage of the field is, which means it will mean better removal, which means high efficiency on the ESP. Then the last factor is the operation and maintenance. There is also several types. First one is wrapping. So poor setting of wrapping can cause a re-entrainment, which reduce the efficiency. Then for cleaning, dust build-up or corrosion degrades the performance of ESP, with degrade the efficiency. And the last is the monitoring. So real-time control ensure the optimal condition. And this monitoring is needed to maintain the high efficiency the ESP has already achieved. Maybe that's all for my answer. I'll give it back to the moderator.
Okay, Aslam, thank you for the answer. So Muzaki, is it clear for you, or do you have any question?
I think it's enough. Thank you, Aslam.
Okay, thank you, Aslam, and thank you, Muzaki. So I think that's all for group 2 Q&A session. And the next Q&A will deliver by group 1. So group 1 time is here.
Okay, so we are going from group 1, so we will answer the question from group 2. So the first question is the server or adsorber process? Because if you use activated carbon, it means that the concept is from gas to solid, which is adsorber principle. Could you please explain about that? So the answer is, so first about is the process describe an absorber or adsorber. So from a scientific and technical standpoint, the main process is adsorption because the material used is the activated charcoal from coconut shells work by absorbing pollutant. Adsorption means gas molecule like SO2 adapt to the surface of the porous solid, which is exactly how activated carbon functions. However, in the paper, the author consistently refer to the tool as a pollutant absorber rather than a pollutant absorber. So we will check the some possibility why the author make like that. Next slide, please. Okay, why did they use absorber inside of absorber? So there are some maybe reason that author using absorber instead of adsorber. So first, common terminology or language context. So in many cases, especially in non-English speaking continuous, the term absorber is used more generally to describe a device that reduces pollution, regardless of the precise chemical mechanism. This doesn't mean that the author were wrong, it simply reflects the use of the more familiar or broadly understood term, especially for a broader audience. Second one, maybe is the combination of the process. So the device include a concentration system to cool and separate pollutant before they reach the activated carbon. So this is done to cool and dissolve pollutant. It's mentioned in the paper. So this implies that some part of process might improve absorption or concentration. For example, like gas turning into the liquid. So it means gas turning into the liquid, not just absorption. So the term of absorber could reflect the combined nature of the system: concentration, separation, and absorption. And then the last one, the focus of the study. So the main focus of the paper is on device development and pollutant reduction, not on strict chemical classification or process. So their use of absorber is functional. They build a device that absorbs, separates, and reduces pollutant like SO2. For that context, that word absorber is acceptable and understandable, I think. Next slide, please. And then for the conclusion, yes, the main process is adsorption, especially in the chamber T using activated carbon. However, the author intentionally used the term of absorber to describe the overall multi-stage process which includes consideration, separation, and separation, and finally absorption. So consideration and separation can be included in the absorption. And as a general function term, common in engineering and pollution control context. And the paper is focused more on device design and effectiveness than on strict chemical definition. So I think that's all. Okay, from group 2, did you have any follow-up question or this answer is enough?
Okay, Hanif, thank you for your question. But I think I have some a little bit confused. If that the like series of tools that apply some process, maybe it can refers to term like absorber. But I think in your PPT, I still see that sometimes you use absorber, sometimes you use absorber. Is it the paper from Indonesia or what journal that the paper published?
Slide reference, please. Reference slides. Okay, this one. Okay, this study actually conducted in Indonesia. Yeah, as you can see in the slide, the title is the Pollutant Absorber Designed to Minimize Air Pollution from Industry. This by Indonesian people. Then, okay, could you please repeat what you still confused for?
Okay. I just asked about the paper, and I think because we already know about the principle, maybe if you present about activated carbon, you can refer to adsorber. But if you refers or explain about condensation and something, you can refers to absorber words, I think. But in overall, because it's series of tools or equipment, maybe we can conclude that we can use absorber based on your explanation. Okay, I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Okay, so the others, Tiara and Asam, did you have any follow-up question for this answer? If no, we will continue for the next answer. Maybe to Muzaki, you can answer the next question.
Okay, thank you, Hanif. So the second question is question from Aslam. So the question is, can you explain why sulfur dioxide was emphasized over other pollutants like NOx or CO? And can this equipment used for other type of pollutant as well? So first, I would like to talk about affinity for adsorption. So sulfur dioxide is more polar and has a higher affinity for carbon-based adsorbents like activated carbon from the coconut shells. Thus, it interacts readily through acid-base interactions, physical adsorption, and sometimes chemisorption with surface functional groups, for example, hydroxyl and carboxyl. While the NOx, like NO or NO2, are less polar and generally more chemically inert in adsorption. NOx removal typically requires catalytic reduction like SCR on NSCR and not just adsorption. While for carbon monoxide, as you know, carbon monoxide is a small non-polar molecule and poorly adsorbed by activated carbon. It's typically removed via oxidation catalyst such as platinum base rather than adsorption. Then your second question is, can this equipment used for other type pollutant as well? So this is the recapitulation for absorption visibility for many pollutants. For SO2 is very effective because it's high affinity and widely studied, while for NOx is limited because it's better removed by catalytic reduction. For carbon monoxide, it's really poor because requires catalytic oxidation in carbon monoxide. And then other pollutants that likely can be removed by adsorption is VOCs such as benzene and toluene because its nonpolar compounds also adsorbs well. And then heavy metal in gas phase because if function surface are add. And then hydrogen sulfide, especially with the impregnated or the modified carbon. I think that's all for my answer on Aslam question. Bring back to moderator.
Okay, thank you so much, Zaki. So, Aslam, did you have any follow-up question or the answer is enough?
Okay, thank you, Zaki. For me, I think it's enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Aslam. So, the last question will be answered by Lutfi. Lutfi, time is yours.
Thank you, chance. So I will answer Tiara's questions. Basically, she asked the Cilegon industrial area showed high concentration of sulfur dioxide due to coal combustions. Based on the prototype discussed using activated coconut shell charcoal, explain how the absorption process works.
Okay, Lutfi, I think we cannot hear your voice clearly.
Is my voice audible? Hello?
It's very uh yeah, very low voice.
Um, Thank you for letting me know. I will.
Yeah, maybe you can closer to your mic.
Okay. Thank you so much. So explain how the absorption process works and identify at least three key factors that influence its effectiveness. How would you improve this system for larger scale industrial use? First, she asked about mechanism of sulfur dioxide absorption using coconut shell activated carbon. First is preparation of activated carbon. The coconut shells are first carbonized or pyrolyzed to produce raw charcoal. This charcoal is then chemically activated by immersion in a 2% NaOH solution, followed by heating or activation for approximately 48 hours. Result is activated carbon with a highly developed pore structure and large specific surface area, enabling efficient capture of gases and molecules. All right. Next slide, please. The next mechanism, the gas flow from the stack into the prototype. The exhaust gas, including sulfur dioxide, exiting the industrial stack is drawn through a primary filter and subsequently it enters the first chamber. The first chamber is is the chamber that the coarse particles are removed, and the gas then proceeds to the second chamber, which functions as a condensation system. In this chamber, the gas is cooled and it causing vapors and particulate that contaminants. It will be condensed and it will then converting some pollutants into liquid or larger particulate forms. The third mechanism is the absorption in the third chamber. So after cooling, the clean gas that is still containing sulfur dioxide flows into the chamber 3, which is packed with coconut shell activated carbon. And here, the sulfur dioxide molecules, along with the other harmful species, it adhere to the internal surfaces of the activated carbon via an absorption process. So due to its high surface area, the activated carbon exhibit a substantial capacity for sulfur dioxide. Next slide, please. The fourth mechanism is the effluent and energy byproducts. The gas exiting the system shows a significant reduction in sulfur dioxide concentrations compared to the untreated exhaust gas. So versus without concentration profile over a 10 weeks experimental period, during the absorption process and the condensation processes, certain capture species can be processed further as an energy resources. Although the prototype remains relatively simple, it also illustrates the potential to convert sulfur dioxide to laden effluent into separated products that has economic value. Next, please, Mus. The second question from Tiara is, what are the three key factors that influencing absorption effectiveness? First, the physical and chemical characteristics of activated carbon, the pore size distribution and surface area, the optimal opening of pores that achieve at approximately 900 degrees Celsius during the activations. It ensures that the sulfur dioxide molecules can readily enter and be retained within the pore network. If the pore openings are constricted or blocked, the absorption efficiency will be decreases. And then moisture content and ash content. The residual moisture in the activated carbon consumes part of its absorption capacity, as initial absorption is devoted to water removal. So it will reduce the capacity that available for sulfur dioxide. So, and similarly, high ash content or metal oxides will diminish the effective of absorption surface area. Next, the second key factors is the temperature and pressure of the exhaust gas. The absorption is an exothermic process. So consequently, if the temperature in the third chamber is elevated, so the affinity of sulfur dioxide for the carbon surface will be weak, and the absorption rate declines. So conversely, if the temperature is excessively low, the gas viscosity will be increased, and it inhibits proper flow through the carbon bed. So the pre-cooling of the exhaust gas in the second chamber will be prior to absorption. That will be essential. The pressures affects the diffusion rate of sulfur dioxide molecules into the carbon pores. So lower pressure or melt vacuum can enhance absorption kinetics that provide the gas flow remains unimpeded and consistent. Next, please. The last key factors that influencing absorption effectiveness is the contact time and gas flow rate. So a slower gas flow rate through the activated carbon, it extends the contact time between sulfur dioxide molecules and the carbon surface. So the result is it's more complete absorptions. If the flow rate is too high or the short contact time, the contact time is short, a substantial fraction of sulfur dioxide can traverse the bed without being captured. In the prototype, after 7 weeks of operations, the performance declined due to a marked temperature reductions and the pore blockage by adsorbed species, which effectively reduce the contact time itself. Next slide, please. Now I will answer Tiara's last questions about the proposed enhancements for large-scale industrial applications. I think you can implementation of multi-stage fixed bed columns. So instead of a single large adsorption chamber, a series of fixed bed units that arrange in succession should be conducted. So the exhaust gas from the stack would first enter the first bed that capturing a portion of the sulfur dioxide, and then proceed to the second bed with fresh activated carbon. So it ensuring more uniform contact time and higher overall removal efficiency. So this multi-stage will approach that consistently achieve the output of sulfur dioxide concentration. So it approaching the regulatory targets. For example, it less than 500 microgram per nanometer cube. Next. So rather than using plain carbon, we can select coconut shell activated carbon that impregnated with specific chemisorbents such as amine compounds or monoethanolamine, diethanolamine, or alkali salt. Um, these materials exhibit higher sulfur dioxide absorption capacities and facilitate easier regeneration cycles. Next slide, please, Mus. Third, we can do some activated carbon regenerations. So for thermal swing absorption or TSA, it hits saturated carbon to 300 up to 400 degrees Celsius to release and recover sulfur dioxide. Or we can use chemical regenerations that use alkaline impregnations like kalium hydroxide and etc. and periodic washing to extend carbon life by 5 up to 10 times. Also, we can do some improve the pre-treatment, like install cyclone separators to remove coarse particles that could block the pores, and add heat exchangers to recover heat for regeneration processes. It increasing the energy efficiency. Also do some modular system design. It develop modular absorption units. Uh, so the optimized column dimension based on target gas flow rates is around 2000 up to 400 per hour. Next.
I think that's all.
All right, thank you. Giving back to moderator. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Lutfi, for your answer. So this is Tiara's question. So Tiara, is the answer clear enough?
I think that's pretty clear. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Tiara. Okay, I think that's all answer from group 1. So the next session will giving back to the opening Axel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much from group 1. So I think that's all for Q&A session. I think we can learn something from this session. I will close with Alhamdulillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.